Hi everybody, thanks for taking the time to watch this presentation. In this presentation we're going to be going through how to upgrade firmware on the phone system's IPU cards, or if it's a G1E phone system, how to upgrade its firmware, or the Transtel Lynx phone system. First point I'd like to make here, this is just an overview to help you see a practical example of how to upgrade this firmware. All the documentation that you will also need for this is in your manuals. I'll be going through a few points on how I like to do things, in my opinion, and hopefully just pass on a few helpful tips to you. First of all, what you're going to need. You're going to need a laptop or a PC with a serial port, but I know that's pretty hard nowadays, or you'll need a USB serial port converter. Okay, there's no hard and fast rules about the serial port converters. Try and get a half decent one. I know that's pretty generic, but it's either going to work or not work. When you install the USB serial port converter onto your laptop, or if you've got a serial port on your laptop, it must be set to use either ports 1, 2, or 3, and that's because the Winloader software can only use these ports. That's it. So please make sure that your settings on your laptop or PC confirm this. You'll need the Winloader software, which is available from your Auto Telecom support office. You will need the release version of firmware for the card or system type that you have. For example, if you're going to be upgrading a G2 IPU N2 or a G2 IPU 2, you will need the firmware that is appropriate for the sort of system that you have. For example, if it's an 80 port cabinet, there's one particular version. If you've got some of the older 832 or 40 port cabinets, or the 64 ports, which is the 1648 systems, you would need the appropriate firmware for that. You would need the Lynx system firmware or the G1E Plus system firmware. Please ensure that you have the current or the correct version and the most current release version software. The software versions change as they get developed, bug fixes, that type of thing. Okay, so a couple of points again, just to remember. Please ensure that you don't have a power interruption during the upgrade. It's not going to cause any major problems in this particular case, or it shouldn't. It's just that whilst you are upgrading either any of these cards or the system will effectively be offline, so you need to get it done quickly and fast. Okay. Please also ensure that you have tested your PC setup and your serial converter or serial cable with a couple of test uploads or upgrades with a system that's in your office. Okay. If you have not used your particular serial card, USB serial converter or USB or your PC, if you've not used it before, please don't go out to a customer live system or operational system and do an upgrade, because if it even starts doing the upgrade and for some reason the setup isn't right and it fails, you need to restart the upgrade procedure, which is fine. But if there's something inherently wrong with your setup or your upgrade setup, you are going to have all sorts of trouble. So please be aware of that. Test on a bench system before you go out and upgrade a live working customer system. Okay, serial ports on the various systems and cards that you're going to be upgrading. So if you are going to be upgrading a Transtel Lynx, the serial port is here. Okay. If you're going to be upgrading a G1E Plus system, your serial port is here. So both systems have the port running standard. Okay. If you're going to be running onto a GDS 80 system, or 80 port cabinet, or a 64 or a 40 port cabinet, you will need an MSU card. in the cabinet that you're going to be upgrading. Now, I point out this. Well, first of all, let's point out where the serial port is. On the MSU card, the G2 MSU card, it's the middle port here. It's an RJ11 connection. It's the middle port, okay? The reason I'm saying that you need to have a card in each cabinet is because you could come across a multi-port, multi-cabinet system. For example, if you've got a GDS 640, you can have up to 8 cabinets that you need to upgrade the firmware on board. Okay, so this is important to note that you're either got to have a card in each cabinet, or you'll be moving a card into each cabinet. By the way, upgrading IPUN cards, particularly multi-cabinet systems, can be exceedingly disruptive and would need to be scheduled with your customer for downtime of the system. Okay, the cables. Here's an example of my setup, my munted setup, all typically looked after by a technician, as you can see, all just tangled together. But we've got the USB converter cable here. I've had this one now for about 5 or 6 years, and I like it. It works and it's reliable, and I'm happy. This is the DTE lead, a plug-in lead. It's a flat 6-way lead with 2 RJ11s on it. Now, this lead comes standard with the phone systems, whether it be Transtel Links, GNE Plus, or a GDS scenario. This is what it looks like when it comes out of the box, by the way, all nicely wrapped up, and I'm sure that's the way it should be when I put it away at the end, and I'm sure all of you guys do that. But just an example of what it all looks like. So that's it. Now let's get into the actual upgrading and what it looks like from your PC. Okay, so let's go and upgrade an IPU card. So this is just going to be a live demonstration upgrade, so it's going to take as long as the upgrade does. So first things first is let's open up the Winloader software. So sitting under here under my directory, there's the firmware I'm going to upgrade. This is actually a G2. Sorry, it's a G1E plus M. So this is running basically the IPU software for it. So we're going to upgrade that. So let's open up the Winloader. Okay, so for those who haven't had it before, seen it before, it's a pretty simple little program. You've open up a file. So for example, if I want to open up this file here, I go open. There it is there. So that's the software that I'm going to put into the firmware I'm going to put into the system. Click on that, go open. It'll open up a open form buffer address from and to. I go OK. Just a little bit of information. Your communications here tells you what comms ports you can use. As I pointed out earlier, you can have the card use COM 1, 2, 3, and 4. My particular laptop, it is using COM 1. And the speed that we're going to need is 56,000, which will do most of the current release systems. A little bit slower on some of the older ones, but at this point in time, that's the speed you need for the list of systems that we've given out to you. So we just go OK. So effectively now the system is ready. Now to get it ready to go, a couple of things I need to point out to you. You can set the system needs to basically set up a communication link between its serial port or itself and the Winloader. You can do this one of 2 ways. You can power the system down and then power it back up again, and it will handshake with the Winloader, set up a stable link, and then start telling you that it's ready, and I'll show you how it does that once we do it. The second way is you hit the reset button on the IPU cards or on the backplane on a G1E plus M. I'm just going to quickly bounce back into the presentation I had on before, and I'll just do the slideshow from current slide. If you're upgrading a Transtel Links, the reset button is actually inside the case. So it's actually easier to plug your serial port in, set your Winloader up, and when you're ready, power the system down and power it back up again by unplugging it, plugging it back in again. If you're doing the G1E Plus like I have here, I've got my serial cable plugged in to the serial port here. It's all set up on my PC, and if you look on the back plane, you can just see the little nipple switch just right about there. You can see it there carefully. If you click that once, that will reset the back plane of the system, and it'll start setting up the communications with the Winloader. If we are using the serial port on a G2 MSU card, we need to go to the IPU N card, okay? And what you'll find is up in this area here, there will be another little nipple switch that you can press, and away you go. Okay, just wanted to point that out to you. Okay, so here we are, we're ready to go. So I'm just going to go over and hit the reset button on my G1E Plus M. Okay, and you can start seeing some activity. The first thing that's going to come up is the UAA. Now, if you start getting gibberish, it doesn't look anything like this. It's more than likely you've got it set to the wrong board speed on the programming, which is up here under communications. If you've got that set wrong, you'll simply just get a whole bunch of gibberish. So the proper sequence of events you should see is a UAA, and then once the link is set up and the program is ready, it'll start polling 05FA. 05FA. Generally, I like leaving it for about 2 or 3 of these before I kick it to upload, just to make sure that the link is stable. I have seen if something's wrong, damage to the system, that kind of thing, that it'll go into 05FA state for a while, and then it'll actually drop out and drop off and start normal running. During this period, the system is actually now offline. Nobody can receive or make calls, so we need to really hurry it along generally in the field. Okay, to get it uploading, we need to press the little computer icon here. It's called download, but download or upload, we're actually going to download the software to the system. So we go download and click. And what's going to happen is now we've got a status bar running, okay? And it needs to run across here to upload it completely, and you can see it polling and running with the different, the address information as it's loading up into the system. So this is going to take a few minutes, but so while we're here, I'm going to just talk about a couple of things that could happen, or just some experience I've had out in the field. The IPU cards are flash RAM. Okay, so they're actually a flash memory in them, and if there for some reason you've got an older system, or the system has been damaged, hit by lightning, I've seen, whereas the system keeps running, but the card is actually damaged, the flash is actually damaged. Power spikes do it as well. What will happen is that the load will go halfway across, 3/4 of the way across, all the way across, whatever. It may need 2 or 3 attempts to get it in. It's not right. It's not. There is something not 100% right when that happens. Okay. Generally, I'd be looking at replacing the IPU card. My other suggestion is naturally you would have spare parts as a reseller. Generally, I like if I'm going to do a software upgrade, I would have a spare MPU and spare IPUs just in case something goes wrong. Always think of the what if. If your upgrade fails here, you have got a dead system, and if you don't have any spares, you've got to keep trying to upgrade this until you get it right. I encourage you, well, I'm sorry, as a reseller, it's mandatory that you have spares, okay? If you're not, you're running high risk. So generally I like keeping spares, so I suggest the same. The other thing is, well, we're talking about power spikes and everything damaging the IPUs, etc. This is not unique to the phone systems here, the Transtel or the Hybrix. The whole thing of having a UPS to protect equipment is an exceedingly good idea. We strongly encourage end customers and resellers to sell them. it's even through the system may have a battery backup. The backup battery is to keep the system running. The UPS is to protect the system. We've had numerous examples of this over the years. For example, we've had multi-cabinet GDS systems at hotels. Power pole gets hit outside, blows up, and actually takes out the UPS. The UPS is toast. Doesn't want to restart after it's had the power spike going into it. But once you unplug the system, put that directly into the wall, away it went. Replaced the UPS a couple of days later. The UPS took the hit. As we're getting more and more modern power articulation systems, I don't know why, but I've noticed that the power reliability and the power quality is going downhill. So when it boils down to it, your phone system's a computer, or your IP system is a computer, or it's got flash RAM, etc. Most devices now, routers, all sorts of things, have got flash RAM in them. And if they're not protected, they will damage themselves and eventually start playing up. So be aware of this. Sorry, I'll get off my hobby horse now, I'm off my soapbox, but it's just sharing a little bit of experience that we've come across. And also, I'll just reiterate the points. You should have spares. It's just part of business now. Also, if you're going to sell service agreements to hold spares, that's another good thing. Otherwise, your customers shouldn't be expecting you to hold spares for them for 5 years while they don't pay you any support work. Sorry, well, now I'll definitely get off the soapbox. Okay, so the system download has finished, and it's come up there and told us that. The clock is stopping running, and if I look across at my system, I will see that it is now beginning to start up. Now, that's it. Pretty much a successful upgrade. The system should begin to start up, which it is. I can see that from here. And it'll now just do its normal restart cycle as if you turned it on. A couple of tricks for young players though here. The cable, the serial cable, is still plugged into that system. Okay? And that's all well and good. The number of times I've had a technician, and I'm sorry, but I've even done it myself, I'll put my hand up, I forget the cable is plugged in there and I go off my merry way, running around doing the installation or doing the follow-ups after the upgrade, making sure the customer's happy. And anyway, for some reason, I have to turn the phone system off again. For some reason, and I forget the serial cables in there. What's going to happen is the system's going to go into link mode or software upgrade mode, and you're going to be sitting there, and if you're not thinking straight, because we all get under pressure at the customer side, you're going to think, my system's down, my system's down. But in reality, all that's wrong is the Winloader software is still open, and you have turned the system on and off, so its system's now waiting for more software. If you accidentally do that, it's no big deal. Don't upgrade the software, don't tell it to do anything. Simply unplug the serial cable, turn off the system, and turn it back on again, and it'll start normally. Or hit the reset key again, one of the two. But just make sure that the serial cable is disconnected. Okay, so I hope that gave you a bit of an overview. The manuals will go through in greater detail. But that's it. Thank you for your time.